Hi guys, welcome back to clearroundmedia. Today I wanted to do a video on how to best present yourself on Zoom or whatever video conferencing tools you might be using. To a lot of us they're quite alien, and I know that I hadn't really used, other than to FaceTime my child to my sister, I barely used it before all of this. However, now we're all on it and I think it's going to be a big part of especially networking and meetings going forwards. So the first thing I would say is to stay in the middle. So it's nice and easy for people to see. There's a rule that photographers use, which is the rule of thirds, which means that you should take up a third of your camera, of the lens. So for instance, if you're like this or you're like this, then it's just not great. So try and stay in the middle. Obviously if you've got one of those fancy personalised backgrounds that make sense for you to be either side, then obviously go with that. However, for the main, if you don't, try and stay in the middle. It just looks nice and it's appealing to the eye. My second tip is to always light from the front. It's probably not a very good example of this because I do have a window behind me, but I'm limited on space on here and I don't zoom from in here, but try and make sure that your light source is in front of you. So whether that's a window or a desk lamp or whatever it might, or studio lights if you're feeling fancy, try and make sure it's in front of you. Being backlit will only cast shadows on your face, which is unflattering, but it'll also make you look darker and harder to see, whereas you want to be the main focus of this and you want to be light and bright and easy for people to see. My third thing is to check your background. So again, mine's possibly not the tidiest and I never wanted to be making videos for my business in my bedroom. However, that's the way of lockdown. But make sure that your background isn't fussy, it's not messy, there's nothing that can distract people. When you're talking, you want them to be really focused on you, not thinking, is that someone's dirty pants lying around in the background? Just try and think of the image that you're projecting of yourself and your business, including your surroundings. Also, try and make sure that you're somewhere quiet. If you're like me and you're trying to do these Zoom meetings with a 4-year-old and a Springer Spaniel in tow, it's not always achievable. However, for the main, try and put yourself in a separate room without the TV going, without the washing machine going, whatever it is. Try and make sure that it's quiet so that people can really hear you. There's nothing more distracting when you're trying to listen to someone than background noise being picked up. You want to make sure that you're clear and that people can easily understand what you're trying to say. On with that, also it is quite polite to use mute when you're in a group meeting. So if it's not your turn to talk, you can press the space bar if you're in Zoom, or there'll be somewhere on the screen that you can click to mute yourself. You might think you're being perfectly quiet, however all it takes is and the camera will switch to you, because a lot of people have their Zoom settings so that the biggest image is whoever's talking at the time, or somebody opening a door, or you perhaps shuffling in your seat, and suddenly it'll flip to you, which isn't really fair on the person who is presenting at the time. So it's just common courtesy to pop yourself on mute when you're not talking so that the attention can be on whoever's speaking. My next tip would be to practice it before you use it. If you have never ever used Zoom before, maybe try and set up a phone call with somebody else in your household or somebody in your family so that you can test it out and know how it works first. I've had a couple of times, because these things can be a bit glitchy, that I go on and it doesn't quite work, and there's nothing more panicky than somebody being able to see you but not hear you, and then they can see you scrabbling around trying to fix it. It's a nightmare. So try and make sure that when you go into it, you know how it works. You're not suddenly trying to scrabble around to work out what buttons you need to be pressing or where you need to be. Remember, this is how you're presenting yourself and your business, so you want it to look as slick as possible. Whilst we're on that, also try and find out if there's any hotkeys that you can use. So like I said, the space bar to mute yourself. Try and figure out if there's anything else you can use that would help you. Again, when you're sat in a group networking meeting and someone's trying to figure out perhaps how to share their screen and they don't know how to do it, it can get a bit awkward because you're kind of all sat there sort of shuffling around thinking, okay, well, we're just waiting for you. And of course we're all human and we all know that happens, but how much better and more professional would it look if you know the keys to do things straight away without having to faff around? And then lastly, did you know that you can record these to your computer? So big thing, GDPR compliance. You have to make everybody aware that you're recording it, and you have to make sure that you get their consent for you to record it. You also then need to make sure that you're only using it for the reasons that you told them you would be. So just make sure you're covering yourself GDPR wise. However, there is the option to record these conversations. How to spot if you're being recorded is there'll generally be a red dot somewhere, and if somebody hasn't asked you, then make sure that you let them know whether you are or are not okay with it. However, if it's, for instance, a discovery call in which you're going to be sharing a lot of information that you may want to refer back to, instead of frantically scribbling notes, it might be a good idea to just record the whole conversation, and then you've got it all there. So that's my top tips on how to use Zoom. I hope you find them interesting. I'm interested to know if people think it's going to be a way forward forever, or if everyone is just absolutely itching to get back to seeing people face to face and it will be long forgotten about as soon as this lockdown's lifted. I hope you found this video useful, and I'll see you soon. Bye!